Those 7 words from a tall stranger in a flowing white robe changed everything. Come with me. Trust me, they will regret this. I was on the polished marble floor of Dubai International Airport, shaking, starving, and alone when he stopped in front of me and looked down at the sobbing American girl surrounded by gold shops she couldn't afford to breathe near. But I should rewind 4 hours, to the moment I realized my own mother had left me. I was 14, standing at gate 23, watching the plane to Bangkok taxi down the runway with my family on it, and me very much not. Just me. A skinny kid in an oversized t-shirt, slowly understanding that my mother had listened to my brother, believed his lies, and walked onto that plane without a single look back. She didn't lose me in a crowd. She didn't get confused. She left me there. And 4 hours later, when the police called her in Bangkok, when she found out what her golden boy had actually been planning, when she realized this trip wasn't about a vacation at all, but about $600,000, her face went corpse white. To understand why that moment turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me, you need to know just how invisible I'd always been. My name is Molly Underwood. I'm 32 now and run a successful import-export business. But at 14 I was basically the family extra. You know how some people light up a room when they walk in? I was the opposite. Human wallpaper. I could sit at the dinner table and somehow not exist. My mother, Patricia, worked double shifts as a hospital administrator ever since my father died when I was 6. His death crushed us, at least that's what she always said about my brother. Spencer was 9 when Dad died, and from that day on, in my mother's eyes, he became the man of the house. 3 years older than me, star quarterback, straight teeth. Easy grin, the kind of boy who could charm teachers out of assigning homework. He could do no wrong. I don't mean that figuratively. In 17 years, I never once saw my mother blame Spencer for anything. If something broke, I did it. If money disappeared, I took it. If there was a fight, I started it. I learned early that protesting only made things worse, so I became the quiet one. The easy one. Never complained, never demanded attention, never made waves. I secretly believed that if I was good enough, small enough, invisible enough, one day my mother would finally see me. She never did. The one person who did see me was my grandmother, Nora, my dad's mom. She lived in Tucson, about 2 hours from our place in Phoenix. Spencer stayed with her most summers when Mom worked extra shifts, but she still made room for me whenever she could. She mailed me books, called on my birthday when Mom forgot, and told me stories about my father. She was getting older though, and I didn't see her as often as I wanted. The summer I turned 14, something changed. I got accepted into an elite arts program on a full scholarship. It was a big deal, the kind of thing that should have made any parent proud. For one brief, strange moment, the spotlight was on me. Spencer hated it. He never said that outright, but I could feel it. Little digs started. Art programs were a waste of time. I'd probably embarrassed the family. The scholarship must have been a clerical error. Mom didn't defend me. She just changed the subject. A week before our trip, something odd happened. I got home early from a half day at school and heard Spencer's voice from his room. His door was slightly open. He was on the phone, pacing. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but one word froze me in place. The trust fund, he said. She can't find out. Once I turn 18, it's handled. My foot hit a creaky floorboard. Spencer yanked his door open and slammed it behind him, face flushed. Were you spying on me? I just got home, I wasn't. Stay out of my business, Molly. I mean it. He shoulder-checked me on his way downstairs. I stood there confused. What trust fund? I didn't understand then. I wish I had. A few days later, we left for our big family vacation. Mom had won a trip to Thailand through some hospital raffle, our first real vacation in years. 2 weeks in Thailand. Beaches, temples, adventure. Our route was Phoenix to Dubai for a 6-hour layover, then on to Bangkok. I packed 1 suitcase. Spencer brought 3. I remember thinking it was the perfect metaphor. I'd spent my life trying not to take up space, even in the overhead bins. The flight to Dubai was long, but I didn't mind. I had a window seat and spent most of it reading and watching movies. Mom and Spencer sat together a few rows ahead. Every so often I'd see them laughing and feel that familiar sting of being on the outside. But I pushed it down like always. Dubai International was another planet. A palace of glass and marble. The bathroom had better lighting than my entire school. Gold shops, designer boutiques, restaurants that looked like magazine spreads. I wandered in awe, a 14-year-old from Arizona in my oversized band tee and slightly too long sail jeans, looking exactly like someone who didn't belong. During the layover, Spencer suggested we split up to explore. He said he'd take Mom to the Gold Souk area and I could check out the bookstore. The idea of a little piece sounded amazing. Before I left, he held out his hand. "Give me your backpack. You don't want to drag that around. I'll keep it safe." My passport, boarding pass, and $40 of emergency cash from Grandma were in that backpack. I handed it over without thinking. If I could go back to that second, I'd grab that girl by the shoulders and tell her to hold on to that bag like her life depended on it, because in a way it did. I used the bathroom, browsed the bookstore for maybe 15 minutes, then headed to our meeting spot near gate 23. They were gone. I waited 30 minutes. Then 45. I told myself they'd gotten distracted, lost track of time. But a sick, heavy feeling was growing. Finally, I went to an information desk and asked about our flight. The woman typed, then looked at me with gentle concern. "That flight has already boarded, dear. It's taxiing to the runway now." "No. My family's on that flight. I'm supposed to be on that flight." She checked again. "Patricia Underwood boarded. Spencer Underwood boarded. Molly Underwood no show." My heart stopped. My vision blurred. I asked her to repeat it again and again until the words finally pierced the fog. They left me. My mother and brother got on that plane and flew to Thailand without me. And as I stood frozen at that counter, I had no idea that in less than 2 hours I'd learn exactly why. I must have looked bad, because a security officer came over and asked for my passport. "I don't have it," I whispered. "My brother has it." "Your boarding pass?" "He has that too." The officer and the woman behind the desk exchanged a look. Unaccompanied minor, no documents, no family. Problem. Later, I would learn exactly what Spencer had done. As soon as I'd walked toward the bathroom, he went straight to the gate. He told the staff I was traveling with other relatives on a later flight. Because we'd gotten the tickets through Mom's work lottery, and not as a formal family booking, nothing flagged. The gate agent checked his name, checked Mom's, and waved them through. Before boarding, he told my mother that I'd had a meltdown. That I'd been chatting online with some boy, and was trying to meet him in Dubai. That I'd screamed I hated them and wanted to be left alone forever. My mother, exhausted and conditioned to trust Spencer blindly, took his word as fact. She didn't come look for me. She didn't ask to talk to me. She just tightened her jaw, followed Spencer onto the plane, and decided she was teaching me a lesson. She had no idea she was leaving her daughter stranded in a foreign airport because her son was lying to her face. But I didn't know any of that yet. All I knew was that I was alone. No passport. Spencer had lifted it from my backpack. No money, the $40 was with it. No phone. Mom had confiscated mine before the trip to limit screen time. I didn't even know my mother's phone number by heart. Like most teenagers, I lived by my contacts list. I knew it started with a 6, maybe. That was it. An airline employee offered to call her for me. They pulled her number from the booking and dialed. Voicemail. Her phone was on airplane mode like a responsible traveler. Security kept asking questions: where I was from, who I'd come with, whether I had relatives in the US, anyone they could contact. All I had were tears and a rising, suffocating panic. They brought me to a small security office while they figured out what to do. A kind woman pressed water and tissues into my hands, but I could see the calculation in her eyes. Potential international incident. I sat there what felt like hours, though it was about 45 minutes. My mind ran in circles. Why would Spencer do this? Why wouldn't Mom check on me herself? Why didn't anyone come looking? Then, uninvited, I heard his voice in my head again. The trust fund. She can't find out. Once I turn 18. Spencer was turning 18 in 3 months. I knew nothing about any trust fund. Mom never talked about Dad's finances, just that we were comfortable, and she worked hard. But Spencer clearly knew something. He'd been hiding something. And he had just left me in Dubai, 3 weeks before some part of Dad's estate opened to him. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't normal sibling cruelty. This was bigger. And I was just starting to realize how much danger I was in. When security ran out of immediate questions, They let me back into the main terminal with instructions to wait near the central concourse while they contacted the embassy. I wandered until I found a corner near a cafe and slid down the wall to the cold floor. That's when I finally broke. I tried to cry quietly, covering my mouth, but it didn't work. I watched families stream by. Kids clutching their parents' hands, arguing about snacks, safe without even knowing it. A little girl dropped her stuffed bear and her dad instantly scooped it up, kissed her head and handed it back. Such a small thing. Such a normal thing. And I couldn't remember the last time my mother had touched me with that kind of softness. Maybe Spencer was right, I thought. Maybe I was unlovable. A burden. Dead weight the family would be better off without. My stomach growled, loud enough that a businessman glanced over. I hadn't eaten in at least 8 hours. The last thing had been a stale airplane croissant somewhere over Europe, which now felt like another lifetime. Around me Gucci, Prada, Chanel, glittering restaurants, and me on the floor with exactly zero money. If my life had been a movie, the scrappy heroine would have come up with a clever plan, befriended a guard, hacked a system, something. My skills consisted of making microwave ramen and occasionally remembering to wash my socks. I pressed my back against the wall and tried to disappear completely. I'd spent my whole life invisible in my own family. Now, for the first time, I desperately wanted someone to see me and care. That's when a shadow fell across me. I looked up. A tall man stood there, maybe mid-50s, in a flowing traditional white robe, with a neatly trimmed gray beard and kind, dark eyes. He looked like the sort of person who probably owned half the shops I couldn't afford to stand near. But he didn't look at me with pity or irritation. Just concern. "Young lady," he said, his English accented but clear. "You look like someone who needs help, and I believe I know exactly how to give it." Every warning I'd ever heard screamed in my head. Stranger. Foreign country. Alone. This was the scenario my mother had drilled into me. Don't talk to strangers, don't trust anyone. But my mother had just boarded a plane without me, so her judgment didn't hold a lot of weight just then. He didn't crowd me. He sat on a bench a short distance away, close enough to talk, far enough to give me space, like he understood he was frightening by default. "My name is Khaled al-Rashid," he said. "I work here. I am the director of guest relations." He let that sit. "I noticed you from across the terminal. You reminded me of someone." I swiped at my eyes. "Who?" "My daughter." His voice softened. "She passed away 5 years ago. She was 15. She had the same expression you have now, trying very hard to be invisible and hoping no one would see that she was hurting." His candor knocked the wind out of me. Predators don't usually start by telling you about their dead children. "I'm sorry," I whispered. He inclined his head. "Thank you." Her name was Fatima. She was born with a heart condition. We knew her life would be short. That did not make losing her easier. He studied me gently. "Now will you tell me why you are sitting on the floor of my airport crying?" The way he said "my airport," not possessive but protective, made something in me unclench. Against every warning I'd ever been given, I started talking. I told him about Spencer. The lies he told Mom. How she instantly believed him. How they boarded without checking on me. That I had no passport, no phone, no money. About the trust fund I'd overheard him mention but didn't understand. Khaled listened without interrupting, his expression growing graver but not surprised, like a man who'd seen plenty and instantly recognized this shape of trouble. When I was done, he sat in silence for a moment. "What happened to you," he said slowly, "is not just cruel. It is potentially criminal. Abandoning a minor in an international airport, combined with deliberate theft of identity documents, that is a serious matter under international law." My heart lurched. "Criminal." He nodded. "But most importantly, you are a child who needs help. And I am going to help you." He stood, held out his hand. "Come with me. Trust me. They will regret this." I hesitated. The alarm bells were still there. But something deeper said he was safe. Maybe it was the way he spoke about his daughter. Maybe it was that he hadn't tried to touch me before offering his hand. Maybe I was just desperate. I took it. "First," he said as we walked, "we get you safe and fed. When did you last eat?" "I don't know. 8-10 hours." He made a disapproving sound. "That will not do. Come." He led me through corridors I'd never have found on my own. Staff-only hallways, administrative areas, quiet back passages bridging the gleaming public terminal, and the engine room of the airport. At each checkpoint he introduced himself. Guards stepped aside respectfully. I realized Khaled might not personally have the power to launch an international case, but he knew exactly who did and how to get to them fast. We ended up in a comfortable administrative office. Soft lighting, couches instead of plastic chairs. A woman in her 40s, warm-eyed with a navy headscarf, introduced herself as Aisha. While Khaled made calls in the next room, she sat beside me and handed over a plate of food from the staff cafeteria. Chicken, rice, vegetables, warm bread. "You're safe now, Habib," she said gently. "Whatever happened, you are safe here." I ate like I'd never tasted food before. That meal could have been served in a cardboard box and it still would have been the best I'd ever had. From the next room I heard Khaled's voice, calm but commanding. "This is Director Al-Rashid. I need security footage from gates 20 through 25, timestamp 1430 to 1600. Immediately. We have a minor abandoned by family and theft of travel documents by a sibling. Deliberately abandoned." Hearing those words from someone else made it real. Spencer hadn't forgotten me. He'd planned this. An hour later they showed me. On the grainy footage there I was walking toward the bathroom, backpack slung over my shoulder. Spencer stepped up behind me as I paused to adjust my shoe. With a quick glance around he unzipped my bag, slid out my passport and boarding pass, tucked them into his own, and zipped mine closed. The little smile on his face was casual, almost pleased. Next clip, the gate. Spencer leaning close to my mother, whispering. Her face hardening. She nodded tightly and turned down the jet bridge. She didn't so much as glance toward the terminal. Just before Spencer disappeared after her, he looked back into the concourse. He was still smiling. Watching it felt like being punched. I'd known the facts, but seeing my brother's expression and my mother's total lack of hesitation broke something that had already been cracked for years. "This is very clear evidence," Khaled said, sitting across from me. "Your brother stole your documents and deliberately separated you from your family. Your mother did not verify his story. There is no ambiguity." I could only nod. "Now," he went on, "about the trust fund you overheard. Do you know anything at all about your father's estate?" "No. Mom never talks about it. Just that Dad left enough for us to be comfortable." I thought that meant the house. "Sometimes," Khaled said carefully, "parents leave more than houses. Sometimes they leave money arranged in ways that become dangerous when people are greedy. And siblings can do terrible things to protect what they believe is only theirs." I thought of Spencer's phone call. She can't find out. "Once I turn 18. My brother turns 18 in 3 months, I said slowly. "He said there was a trust fund he could access then." Khaled nodded. "When you get home, you must look into your father's documents. Ask questions. Find out what he left, and for whom. You think this is about money? I think people reveal who they really are when they think no one is watching," he said gently. "Your brother has revealed himself. The question is what you will do with that knowledge." I had no idea. I was 14, exhausted and heartbroken in an office thousands of miles from home. What could I do? But beneath the grief something else had started. A small, steady flame of anger. Not the wild kind that burns out. The cold kind that stays. My father used to call me his hidden gem. I'd never really understood what he meant. Hidden from what? From whom? Sitting there under Khaled's steady gaze, I started to understand. Dad had seen something coming. In whatever way he could, he tried to protect me from my own family. Khaled's phone rang. He answered in rapid Arabic, then turned back with a new look in his eyes. "The flight to Bangkok is still in the air," he said. "They land in approximately 90 minutes. Thai authorities and the U.S. Embassy here in Dubai have been contacted. When that plane lands, your mother and brother will be met by police." My stomach flipped. Police? Child abandonment is a crime. International child abandonment with document theft is more serious still. He paused. "You have a choice now, Molly. We can make this only about getting you home. We do not have to push. Or," a faint smile tugged at his mouth, "or you can watch justice happen." And I promise you they will regret what they have done. I thought of my mother's face on that footage, how she didn't even look back. Of Spencer's easy smile. Of all the smaller betrayals that led to this. I want to watch, I said. Colette picked up the phone again. This is Director Al-Rashid. Connect me to the International Police Coordination Office and the U.S. Embassy. We have a confirmed case of child abandonment by an American family. The mother and son are currently on Emirates Flight 384 to Bangkok. I want authorities waiting at Suvarnabhumi Airport. They are not to leave the terminal. He hung up and looked at me. Now, young lady, let us talk about justice. The next 90 minutes stretched forever. Colette's network moved fast. Dubai Airport security documented everything. My statements, the footage, timestamps. The U.S. Embassy in Dubai opened an emergency file for me. A stranded American minor with stolen documents. Thai authorities prepared to coordinate with police in Bangkok. Emirates was alerted. An American consular officer, Ms. Patterson, brisk voice, kind eyes, called to speak with me directly. She laid out what my mother might be facing. Abandoning a minor in a foreign country is a serious matter, she said. Your mother could be investigated in both the UAE and Thailand. Your brother, though technically still a minor at 17, is close enough to adulthood that his actions will be scrutinized. There may be charges related to document theft and child endangerment under Arizona law. Charges. Investigation. International incident. These were words from TV, not my life. The evidence is very strong, she continued. We have footage of your brother removing your documents. There is no way to misinterpret that. The question now is how you want to proceed. As if I had any idea. Part of me still wanted to shield my mother. 17 years of training don't vanish in an afternoon. I kept thinking. Maybe she really didn't know. Maybe Spencer fooled her completely. Maybe if I could just explain, she'd be sorry and we'd fix it. But then I saw again in my mind the security footage. Her not hesitating, not checking, not looking back. And I remembered every time before this when she'd believed Spencer over me without question. This wasn't one bad decision. It was the final ugliest expression of a pattern that had defined my entire childhood. I'd just been too desperate for her love to name it. The flame inside me grew steadier. While we waited for news from Bangkok, something else happened that changed everything. When the plane landed and Thai authorities detained my mother and Spencer, they seized Spencer's phone as evidence. A standard step in cases involving minors. When they went through his messages, they found exactly what Colette had suspected. 3 weeks of text to his girlfriend, Brittany. One read, "This trip is perfect. I'll ditch her in Dubai and Mom will have to pick a side. She always picks me." Another, "Once Molly's out of the picture, I can talk Mom into the money. She trusts me completely." And the worst, sent 2 days before we left Phoenix. "Once I turn 18, that trust fund is mine. Molly doesn't even know it exists. If she runs away in Dubai, she'll look unstable and won't get her share." Problem solved. When Khaled read those messages aloud to me, I felt physically ill. Spencer hadn't lost his temper and made a split-second choice. He had calmly planned to erase me from my own future for cash I didn't even know about. What would have happened if Khaled hadn't spotted me on the floor? If no one responsible had intervened? I didn't want to think too hard about that. Patterson explained what Spencer had been trying to protect. Before he died, Dad had set up a trust fund for both his children. Total value, $400,000. Half $200,000 for Spencer, accessible when he turned 18. Half $200,000 for me, but structured differently. I couldn't touch the principal until I was 25. Before that, it could only pay for education, college, grad school, any training I wanted. It was locked, insulated, harder to get to but safer. For months, Spencer had been trying to convince Mom to consolidate the funds, arguing, according to the texts, that I was irresponsible and would blow it on stupid art stuff. He wanted her to petition the court to transfer control of my share to him. If I ran away in Dubai and caused an international scene, I'd look unstable. A judge might buy the argument that I couldn't be trusted with my own inheritance. My brother had tried to steal my future and almost pulled it off. During a lull between calls, Khaled sat across from me again. Aisha brought tea, sweet and fragrant. Nothing like my mother's burned bitter coffee. We sat in quiet for a while. I have seen family grieve before, he said at last. In my work. In my country. In every country. Money does not change a person's character. It reveals it. I nodded, staring into my cup. But I have also seen something else, he went on. Your father loved you very much. I looked up. How do you know? Because he structured your inheritance to protect you. He made sure no one could take it. Not your mother, not your brother. He may not have known exactly what would happen, but he sensed you might one day need protection others did not. My throat tightened. I thought of Dad, really thought of him not just as a blur of grief. Of him calling me his hidden gem. I'd always assumed it was just a sweet phrase. Now I understood. Hidden from the favoritism, from Spencer's growing cruelty, from the family dynamic he'd seen forming even when I was 6. He couldn't save himself, but he'd quietly tried to save me. Your father believed in you, Colette said. Now you must believe in yourself. I didn't know if I could. But in that office, thousands of miles from home, I decided to try. A screen on the wall flickered on. A live feed from Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport. Arrivals gate. Harsh lighting. Uniformed officials waiting. An American woman in a dark suit stood among them, tablet in hand. The embassy rep, Khaled, checked his watch. The plane has landed. Passengers should appear any moment. My heart pounded in my throat. Travelers started trickling through. Business people glued to phones, families herding cranky kids, an elderly couple inching forward arm in arm. Then there they were. My mother came out first, adjusting her carry-on strap, scanning the terminal with the disoriented look of someone who just crossed too many time zones. Her clothes neat, hair smoothed. She looked like a woman at the start of a hard-earned tropical getaway. Spencer trailed a step behind, laughing at something on his phone. Actually laughing. Not a flicker of worry for the sister he'd abandoned 12 hours earlier. They looked so normal. 2 Thai officers and the embassy rep approached. My mother's face shifted from curiosity to confusion to something close to fear. The American woman spoke first. I couldn't hear audio, but I saw the effect. Explaining that her daughter had been found abandoned at Dubai International, that this was now an official matter, that there was evidence. Mom's mouth started moving fast. Even muted, I could imagine the words. There must be a mistake. She wanted to stay. She was being dramatic. She said she hated us. Spencer nodded along, the picture of wounded concern. You know how she is. One officer held up a tablet and hit play. Mom watched Spencer unzip my backpack on the screen. Watched him remove my passport with that small calculating smile. Watched him tuck it into his own bag and stroll away. The color drained from her face. Spencer started talking, gesturing, lips moving quickly. Probably the same tired lines. It was a joke, he was going to fix it, he didn't mean. The officer swiped to the next screen. His text to Brittany. Mom read her son's words. I couldn't see the screen, but I didn't need to. I already knew. Once Molly's out of the picture, that trust fund is mine. She doesn't even know it exists. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her shoulders sagged. It was like watching someone's bones give out. For the first time in my life, I saw Spencer's charm fail. I'd watched him talk his way out of everything. Forgotten assignments, broken windows, Mom's anger. But charm doesn't erase digital records. You can't flirt with a security camera. You can't grin your way out of texts written in your own hand. His face morphed from cocky to startled to scared in seconds. His hands shook. He tried to step back like he could literally walk away from consequences, but the officers were already at his sides. I thought I might feel triumph. Some big cinematic satisfaction. Instead I felt tired. Sad. Relieved that the pretending was finally over. The embassy rep lifted her tablet and suddenly my mother's face filled the screen in Khaled's office. Split screen, her in Bangkok, me in Dubai. She looked wrecked. Mascara streaked, eyes swollen, 10 years older than the last time I'd seen her a day earlier. Molly. Her voice broke. Baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Spencer told me you wanted. I thought. You didn't check, I said. My voice surprised me, steady, almost flat. You didn't come find me. You didn't ask me. You just believed him. I know. And I'm so sorry. You always believe him. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't crying. I was just telling the truth. You've always believed him, Mom. My whole life you chose him over me. Every single time. She sobbed harder. Spencer stared at the floor behind her. Dad would never have left me, I said quietly. He knew. He knew what Spencer was capable of. That's why he protected my inheritance. Because he knew you wouldn't. She flinched. I could have recited a lifetime of small abandonments. Every time I tried to tell her something was wrong, and she brushed it off. But there was no point. She knew. She just refused to see it. I'm done, I said. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being the one who doesn't matter. The embassy rep gently took the tablet back. The call ended. We sat in silence. Aisha laid a hand on my shoulder. Khaled stayed nearby, this quiet wall of support. Over the next hour, the official consequences solidified. Spencer would be detained and flown back to the U.S. under escort. His phone, messages, and the security footage would all go to juvenile authorities in Arizona. Child endangerment, theft, conspiracy, it would all be reviewed. At 17, he was old enough that this would be taken seriously, young enough that the system would probably give him a chance to rebuild someday. My mother would likely avoid criminal charges, since there was proof she hadn't known the full extent of his plan. But she would face formal warnings, mandatory counseling, and a file note that would not disappear. A court-appointed guardian would oversee my share of Dad's estate going forward. What Spencer had tried to take from me was now more secure than ever. Ironically, his scheme had locked my future down tighter. Spencer's dreams were another story. He'd pinned everything on football, Division I scholarship, maybe the pros. That kind of path requires a spotless record. This well-documented international incident, even if charges were later softened, would never fully vanish. Coaches would see it. Recruiters would ask. Everything he'd been trying to protect by removing me. His money, his future, his golden boy image, was now in jeopardy because of his own arrogance. Karma, it turns out, has impeccable timing. Khaled arranged my trip home next. The U.S. Embassy issued emergency travel docs, so I could fly without my stolen passport. Emirates upgraded me to first class, with staff assigned to keep an eye on me the whole way. Before I left his office, Khaled handed me a thick, cream-colored business card. If you ever need anything, he said. Anything at all, call this number. It will find me. Why? I asked. Why did you help me like this? You didn't have to. He was quiet for a moment. Because you reminded me of Fatima. She was kind like you. Quiet like you. Overlooked sometimes like you. She would have wanted me to help someone who needed it. And you very much needed it. I hugged him. It was probably wildly inappropriate. We'd known each other less than a day, from opposite sides of the world, but in that moment he felt more like family than anyone who shared my DNA. You are stronger than you know, he said. Your father was right. You are a hidden gem. But you will not stay hidden much longer. The 18-hour first-class flight from Dubai to Phoenix was surreal. Warm towels, real plates, a seat that turned into a bed. The flight attendants had been briefed and treated me like fragile royalty. I kept thinking, this is the most expensive thing that's ever happened to me, and I didn't pay a cent. There's probably a tidy moral here, about disasters turning into opportunities. At the time I was too drained to look for one. I ate my salmon, watched 3 movies, and slept like I'd been knocked out. When I stepped off the plane in Phoenix, my grandmother Nora was waiting at arrivals. She looked older. It had been almost a year. But her hug was exactly the same, strong, warm, smelling like lavender and old paper. I've got you, she murmured. You're safe now, sweetheart. I've got you. She drove me straight to her house in Tucson, not to Mom's place in Phoenix. That was deliberate. I wasn't ready to see my mother, and Grandma didn't push. Mom had flown home immediately after the Thailand debacle. Her vacation had lasted less than a day. She now had mandated counseling sessions, legal interviews, and the rubble of the family she'd refused to really look at for years. Spencer was being processed by the juvenile system in Phoenix. He'd be released eventually, but not quickly, and not to live with me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't orbiting his son. The relief of that was almost dizzying. About a week after my return, my mother came to Tucson. She looked like she'd aged a decade. No polished administrator now, Just a woman with shaking hands, hollow eyes, and guilt carved into every line of her face. She didn't minimize. She didn't say but even once. She sat at Grandma's kitchen table and said, "I failed you. I don't know how to fix it, but I want to try if you'll let me." I studied her. This woman who had chosen my brother over me for as long as I could remember, who'd stepped onto a plane without her 14-year-old daughter, but who had also worked herself raw to keep us fed after Dad died. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said honestly. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." She nodded, tears sliding down. "I understand. But," I added, "I'm willing to try. If you actually do the work. Therapy. Honesty. Real change. Not just sorry, and then pretending it never happened." "I will," she whispered. "I promise." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. Spencer's future was more defined. He got probation until 21, mandatory counseling for manipulative behavior, years of community service, and a permanent note in his records that killed his Division I scholarship. He eventually ended up living with Grandma too, but on the opposite side of the house in the guest room. Mom couldn't look at him the same way anymore, and he needed somewhere to go. Last I heard years later, he was working as a mechanic's assistant at an auto shop in Tucson. Honest work, modest life. Very different from the glory he'd imagined. I don't feel joy about his fall. Just a quiet relief. He can't hurt me anymore. 2 weeks after Dubai, Grandma sat me down with a box of my father's papers. "I've been keeping these for you," she said. "Waiting until you were old enough. Until it was time." Inside was everything: trust documents, bank statements, legal files. At the very bottom, a letter in Dad's handwriting, dated a week before he died. It was addressed to me. In it, he wrote that he'd seen something in our family dynamics that worried him. He'd noticed how Spencer treated me when adults weren't around. The manipulation. The cruelty. He couldn't name exactly what would happen, but he felt it. So he'd structured my inheritance with extra locks. My $200,000 trust, protected until 25 for education only. A separate life insurance policy, $400,000, named solely to me. "Not because I love you more," he wrote, "but because I know your brother will always have your mother. You are the one who may need this safety." The letter ended, "Molly, my hidden gem, you will face storms in this family, but you are built to weather them. Be patient. Be strong. Know that your father loved you more than words can say. I believe in you. Love always, Dad." When I finally accessed everything at 25, the total came to $600,000. $200,000 from the original trust and $400,000 from the insurance. Enough to completely change my life. I used it carefully. I started my import-export business specializing in artisan goods from the Middle East, because apparently the universe appreciates irony. I built it into something steady and successful and entirely mine. Khaled and I stayed in touch. He came to my college graduation, standing discreetly in the back, eyes watery. Every year on the anniversary of Dubai, I send him flowers. He sends me books on business, on philosophy, on finding strength in dark places. My relationship with my mother healed slowly on purpose. Clear boundaries. Real therapy. Conversations that hurt but also helped. We'll never be best friends, but we're honest now. That's more than we ever had before. And me? I'm no one's wallpaper anymore.